Her estranged husband was set free on no bail after brutally beating her in a very savage attack. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino.
And I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning to you. A really tough story here, folks. Shocking homicide took place in Buffalo, New York. 30-year-old Keaira Bennefield had an order of protection after showing police the following video. And a warning, this is disturbing. It goes on for some time as well. It shows Adam Bennefield viciously beating her inside of her home. The violent attack goes on for 8 minutes. Despite this and previous convictions for violent attacks against women, he was set free in the latest example of this bail reform and the outrage that has followed.
The victim's mother now directly blaming New York Governor Kathy Hochul, telling the New York Post that Hochul failed. And there's a lot more to this horrifying tragedy. David Lee Miller has details. He is live in our newsroom. Good morning, David Lee.
Good morning, Dana. Now, this deadly saga began in late September. As you point out, 30-year-old Keaira Bennefield posted a video online that appears to show her being beaten by her husband, Adam, at her home in Cheektowaga near Buffalo. After viewing the recording, cops charged Adam Bennefield with third-degree assault and other misdemeanors. Under New York law, the charges did not give a judge discretion to require bail. Bennefield was also reportedly served an order of protection. A day after Bennefield was released, cops say he shot and killed his wife after forcing her car off the road as she was driving her 3 young children to school. He is now behind bars, and he has pleaded not guilty to murder and 3 counts of endangering the welfare of a child. Adam Bennefield had a violent past. He served 15 years for attempting to kidnap an ex-girlfriend. New York law does not allow a judge to take into consideration whether a defendant is a danger to the community. Keaira Bennefield's grieving mother says cashless bail is to blame for allowing her daughter's alleged killer to remain on the street. And she also says Governor Hochul, who supports cashless bail, should be held accountable. She told the New York Post, and I quote, "She should be charged for the crime. She's also responsible for the crime." A spokesperson for Governor Hochul, who is up for re-election next week, called Keaira Bennefield's death tragic and horrific, and that Hochul's top priority is keeping New Yorkers safe, adding that Hochul is working with lawmakers to crack down on gun crimes and repeat offenders. Hochul has said she is willing to discuss changes to the state's bail law in January when the next legislative session gets underway. Supporters of cashless bail say there is no connection to that policy and surging crime. Dana.
David Lee Miller, thank you so much. So the hot-button issue of crime playing out in the tight race for New York Governor. Republican Lee Zeldin making it a central part of his campaign against incumbent Democrat Kathy Hochul, who strongly denies that crime is a problem. Mark Penn, former Clinton pollster and advisor, now chairman and CEO of Stagwell, and a Fox News contributor. It's great to have you here. You wrote a piece in which you said why a pro-Trump conservative might win New York governor's race. Is crime the main issue?
Yes, absolutely. Crime is the #1 issue in New York State. And this horrific murder in which someone beats her first and then is let out on the street, this could be the incident close enough to the election, clear enough in its relation to the bail laws, and clear enough, by the way, in Hochul's opposition to giving judges what about 70% of New Yorkers want, the discretion to take people who are a threat to the community off the streets. Wow. This really could be it. It had already been mounting week after week as the polls tightened here to single digits.
Jason Riley writes in the Wall Street Journal, Lee Zeldin's New York Republicans party like it's 1994. Let's talk about that, Mark. It's 28 years, right? And many people are now trying to draw similarities between this race now and what we saw that year. Explain.
Well, look, in that particular era, crime was the #1 issue. New York wasn't safe. You may remember that it was actually President Joe Biden around that time that put together the crime bill after the '94 elections, and that our spots for Bill Clinton featured police endorsements and measures to crack down on crime. And you're seeing, I always say history does repeat itself over and over again. And we're seeing here that the policies that led to the crime in the 90s are being repeated now. I think they're even more extreme. And the truth of the matter is New Yorkers don't support these policies. But will they be the #1 issue in this election that is so powerful to overcome a 23-point Democratic edge? That is a stretch. Zeldin has run a smart campaign, and Hochul, rather than giving straight answers that might split her coalition, has said, oh, let's talk about this after the election. I don't think that was a very strong answer or a wise one.
Right. Yeah, why wait till January? Like, let's just start having this conversation now. I mean, people are going to have this conversation. They already are if they voted early. But somebody else who repeats herself is Hillary Clinton. She had the deplorables comment back in 2016. She just said this yesterday as well. Watch.
I'm not sure they really understand the threats to their way of life. They may think that whoever's chairing a committee is, kind of abstract. But the Republicans in the House and others, like the chair of the Republican Senate Campaign Committee, are on record saying that they are going to put Social Security and Medicare